What's up, world? It's Rise in Ottawa. It's now December, week before Christmas. Quite a bit colder, and you can see some of the snow and ice. We've been having some freezing rain, so it's a little bit slick. And it's a lot colder than it was when I recorded the interview you're about to watch. It was beginning of September, and it was like a 30-degree day, beautiful sunshine. I picked Kosi Eze up in Montreal after she had been at a dance battle, and I had DJ'd a party. And we drove back all the way to Ottawa, and we recorded our conversation talking about dance, her path through dance, and what got her to be the dancer that she is. She's an amazing dancer, lives in Toronto, hip-hop dancer, also house dancer, and born and raised in Nigeria till she was 13, and moved here and fell in love with street dance. And we talked a lot about her path through dance and process of becoming the dancer that she is today. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Kosi Eze. All right, Kosi, welcome to Gone Monk. I just picked her up on St. Catherine Street in Montreal. I just played a crazy party with Don Barberino and called Oasis Montreal. It was just ridiculous, and I just picked her up. You just came from?
I was just at Distortion Studio for on point, under pressure.
Under
battles,
pressure battle?
The locking, popping, and breaking battles.
Did you enter all three? Or?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't want to enter if I had to leave. you know, I didn't want to do that to him.
Because today was the qualifiers?
Yeah,
or? Okay.
And he has all the finals on the Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy. So you just hung out and danced, ciphered?
Yeah, I supported my friends.
Oh.
Just here to soak in the Montreal vibes, because after Ottawa, I go straight to Amsterdam.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Is it an Amsterdam dance event? Or?
Yeah, Summer Dance Forever.
Oh, Summer Dance Forever. That's amazing. I've never been. We went to Amsterdam, I think it was like in the month of October, and it was amazing. There were so many dancers.
Oh, yeah.
That's the place in Europe where I've seen the most crews. It's crazy.
Yeah?
It's crazy. And there's super clubs too, like there's like 2,000 person clubs.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah, it's like Sarah and I were just like blown away by the amount of dancers that we met on that trip. But yeah, I think going to Summer Dance is like on the bucket list for sure.
Oh, man.
I think you're going to have an amazing time.
Yeah, it's been like a long time coming for me. I've just been always thinking about it, and my friends are like, "Oh, I went to Summer Dance. It was great. You have to go."
Amazing.
So I had to check it off the bucket list.
Who went? Raul went, right?
Raul was there. Knox Ander's been there.
Knox went too, eh?
Yeah, wow. Lady C.
And everybody's saying it's just crazy.
They're saying it's the most amazing battle they've been to. So.
Oh, that's gonna be amazing. Well, we got a good warm up this weekend. You in Ottawa with us?
Oh, for sure.
We got the battle tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you're doing our event, our capital sessions at the NEC on Sunday.
Yes.
Which is gonna be super dope. So it should be a good warm up, man. You should be like in the right vibe when you get there.
Absolutely, and that's why it's kind of why I agreed. You know, I wanted to test the water, see how I'd be doing, but also just like come down to Ottawa and like say what up. It's been a minute. It's been a year.
Wow, yeah, since it was it Alea's battle?
Yeah, the last Welcome Home.
That's right. In the Latin Club, they're upstairs.
For sure.
Yeah,
that's the spot.
Really cool. So, is this like a full-time gig for you, dance?
At the moment, yes.
Yeah.
I just made the decision to move to Vancouver, actually.
Wow.
For a couple months and just see what I can do there.
Okay. When are you gonna go?
I'm gonna go mid-January.
Wow.
Mid-January.
Good time to leave the East Coast and go to
West Coast. In the winter time? Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful out there, man. It's beautiful. And there's some people doing the street. You know Kim Sato?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. She's doing a lot of stuff out there.
She's super dope locker.
Yeah.
Building the community out there for sure.
Nice. So do you have like a place lined up and everything already, or?
Not really. I'm just sort of like, I made the decision not too long ago.
Okay.
So I'm just talking to some of my good friends out there, dancers out there, see what can happen, where I could stay.
Cool.
And they're helping me out.
Well, why Vancouver?
Oh man, this is actually a question that I got asked, and it was a no-brainer, but I had to really think about it, why I decided to go to Vancouver. And someone said, why not Montreal? For me, I think like having the responsibility or the opportunity to represent Canada means that you're like the people's, choice, or you've done well enough to represent your people in your country.
Yeah.
And I feel like I, haven't really gotten to know the west coast of Canada
Yeah.
as much as I would want to.
Yeah.
Also, I've been to Vancouver a few times. I've gone to Vancouver Street Dance Festival, super dope jam.
Yeah.
I've been there a few times, and I just love the people, the vibe, and it just seems like a good place to go and like build.
It's especially beautiful, there's lots of stuff to be done, right? And it's just not as many people, but beautiful place, and
for sure.
less winter.
less winter, more rain, but all good.
Expensive
all good.
Too, right? Like much more expensive.
For sure.
Like the housing is just nuts over there.
Yeah.
Though the housing's nuts in Toronto too, but I think it's even more nuts over there, right?
Yeah. So. Shout outs to the Vancouver dancers who are making it work, you know.
Yeah.
CO.
We've been there a few times, and every time it's like a serious topic of conversation. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's crazy. The rent is insane." And people are splitting, you know, like 8 people splitting a 3-bedroom house to kind of make it
it work.
Yeah, because it's just nuts. Apparently, we can get back on the 720 over here.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of the show, is that we're trapped in Montreal and we're trying to escape. So I think we're in the right. Yeah, I see the 720 sign here.
Fresh.
So pretty soon we'll be in the middle of nowhere. But right now. We're in Montreal.
Trail City. Funk Trail.
So, okay, you're an amazing dancer. Like, there's very few people that I see dance, and I'm like, yo, I gotta get into this person's mind and understand how they're doing this. Like, how you piece dance together and your vision of dance. So, like, this show's all about people going really deep into the art. So I'll ask you a whole bunch of nuts and bolts. If there's anything you want to say or any direction you want to take it in, feel free to. Sure. But I want to get into like how you became the dancer that you are. You know, like how you got all the little pieces together to create the dancer that is Kosi. You know? So in your bio it says that you've been training it says since 2012.
Yes.
So that's when you started taking classes, kind of thing.
That was when I sort of decided that street dance was the path I wanted to take, because before that I was in a high school team. We did lots of choreography, but funny story, the studio that I would go to learn choreography and sort of take class, Right Foot Studios, shout out to Right Foot Studios, David Forto. One of the dancers from there, he posted this audition for an all-female crew called Feds, and at the time I didn't know who was running it. I had no idea what it was, but a friend of mine from high school had said, "You just loved it. I see that you love the dance so much. You should at least try, you know." But I didn't know anything about street dance. I didn't know anything about hip hop or house or anything like that.
So the dance team you were in, it wasn't a choreo, or like it was?
It was choreo, but we were just a bunch of kids in high school. We barely knew what we were doing. Like we were
taking video dance and like whatever moves.
Exactly, you could watching YouTube. You know, doing like trying to emulate the famous choreographers we saw, but we didn't know anything about the nitty gritty, the technique, where it came from. None of that. Nothing about the culture, at least. And so it was just on a whim. I went to this audition, which was a whole city over from where I live. I live in Mississauga. The audition was in Toronto. Got there, and the people running it were David Forto, who owns Right Foot Studios, and Mariano Glizza, who is like legendary Bag of Tricks crew. Yeah. And at the time, I didn't know anything, just kind of auditioned, saw what happened, and somehow got picked, and the rest is history. That's 2012 awesome. September was when I just decided, boom, I'm going to do this.
And so, like, coming from that, because I mean, I think a lot of kids and just younger dancers now, growing up, it's a total, like, I grew up in the 80s, it was a completely different thing. I mean, we had much music, but that was pretty much it in terms of, you know, like being exposed to dance culture, you know? And so, I mean, there was traditional dance in the different cultural parties. I grew up in this area, actually, right around, just like a little further west from here. And so, you know, there was like cultural dances in the different communities, but there wasn't really, and I mean, hip hop was starting up, but there wasn't really, like, you couldn't just go to YouTube and see stuff. So, growing up, like, you grew up, would you say that you grew up in YouTube, with YouTube? Would you say that's...
I did. When I started dancing, it was just popping off, and everybody's putting this stuff on YouTube. Yeah.
So, like, growing up like that, so you must have. It's just infinite the amount of dance that's on there, right? Like, so you were just taking whatever you felt was cool, or like how did you parse that, or how did you like sort through it? What were you passing? Were friends like sending you stuff, or?
I think at the time, and also just coming from high school, being in high school, it was mostly just like you watched what your friends thought were cool, and they sent it to you and you shared it if you liked it, and then you talked about it at lunchtime. So that was pretty much how I sourced the dance videos. It all depended on what we liked together as a collective, and just because I didn't know anything for myself, I just kind of watched what everybody else was watching.
So you were watching like turfing and hip hop and like
yeah.
And like all the street dances, basically.
For sure. Without actually being able to put a name on it, I was watching, like a lot of the dances from the southern part of the States, from Atlanta, and all of that. So, but not knowing like what they were actually called, just thinking, oh, that's a cool move. Maybe we should try that at practice tomorrow. Okay, cool,
That's really cool. And so when you got into the crew, you became aware at that point, or were you aware of it, that there was a lot of a deeper history to all the dances, and or was that the point where you started to figure out, oh my God, there's like each of these things is its own little world, and I can delve into them?
I think Mariano and David, they did a good job of sort of like right off the bat letting us know, like, this is what this crew is going to be about. This team. You're gonna come here and you're gonna train street dances, which are so and so. And it made us, having to be in this intensive once a week, 3 hours, 4 hours, thing, where we had to really look into what it was. And the way that they taught made us want to do our research. They showed us the best of the best, or as far as they knew. And yeah, it made us want to delve more. Be like, what is locking? What is popping? Where did these things come from, and know for ourselves.
That's cool. And so which, like when you started, was there, I guess, specifically a style that you gravitated more towards? Or?
Okay. I've hated breaking and popping right off the bat.
Breaking and popping, those are totally different things, right?
I didn't have the physicality.
Okay.
But also at the same time, I just didn't have the dedication that they took. I sort of, like any kid my age at the time, you wanted instant gratification.
Flashy, instant moves,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And for me, I thought I could do that instantaneously with hip hop freestyle. The flashy footwork or whatever it might be. But to me, getting the technique down, or just the commitment to do something like breaking or popping, I was like, attention span too short, so I hated them instantly. But I gravitated more towards hip hop freestyle, and eventually when I discovered house, it felt so much like home, like where I had grown up, my heritage, so I gravitated a lot towards house.
And where did you grow up, actually?
I grew up in Nigeria.
Are you serious?
The eastern part of Nigeria. Lived there for 13 years of my life, and then moved to Canada.
So you were 13 when you moved here? Yes. Wow. So you went to school there all the way up until high school, basically?
Pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. So you came here, high school, American or Canadian high school, and like, what was that like? That must have been crazy.
Massive culture shock.
Yeah.
I was like afraid to speak out or even say anything. Just a few things acting at the same time. Not feeling at home, not having any friends because you were that
foreigner.
Exactly, immigrant kid. And not fitting in because I felt like I didn't understand culturally.
Yeah.
What goes on in Canada, what it took to be Canadian, and all of that. So It was a weird time.
Yeah. So did you start dancing right away when you got here, or like doing that the team that you were in high school, or?
Another really crazy story. I was in grade 9. I was only a couple of months into high school, but I had a friend, because when I moved over, I had to do grade 8 again because
Okay.
I had a late birthday or something like that. I don't know what the reason was.
Okay.
So I did grade 8. And in grade 8, I met this one dancer, the only person I knew who danced. He actually also lived on my block.
Okay.
And we just sort of like vibed off of each other. I liked what he did. He did more popping now that I think of it in retrospect. And we went to the same high school. And one day we were just in the hallway dancing to this new song that had come out. I can't even remember what it was, but there is footage.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Wow.
of me in like my high school dancing. And it was me and this guy, and we were really comfortable with each other, just throwing back and forth, not knowing what we were really doing.
Wow.
And the leader of the high school team at that time was walking down the hallway, saw us, and thought, whoa, like I would love for you guys to be in our next school concert. What do you think?
that's great.
We practice every
They
Tuesday.
headhunted you.
Right, just immediately. Every Tuesday, what do you guys think? And we're like, oh yeah. They're like, all right, cool. Come to the audition.
That's cool.
And she ended up being a friend of my older sister, which was insane. We found out later, but
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I mean, growing up, you spent 13 years. I mean, you must have seen a lot of dancing. Like, what was your idea of dance growing up in Nigeria versus, well, just let's start with that. What were you exposed to? Traditional dance? Like,
Oh, for sure. My family is very big on like tradition, heritage, and the Igbo culture.
okay, you're Igbo. Wow.
I'm Igbo, yeah. So I grew up with lots of celebrations, lots of parties, and it was just standard. Everybody danced at one point. It was like our way of sharing.
How often
each other.
would these parties happen?
Oh man, I remember it being like a once a week thing. If not once a week, like once a month. And also, I think the celebration also came from the fact that my family is very religious. We're Catholics.
Okay.
But over in Nigeria, going to a Catholic church is not the same experience as here.
I'll bet.
It's very joyous, and less over here it's like more solemn, like a sacred act. But there it's more praise, songs of praise, joyous occasion, momentous occasion every weekend. So
Wow, that's dope.
I was just telling someone I've been going to church I went to church every week, bar a few, from when I was like a year old to 13.
Wow.
So that was like a staple in my life.
So
once
every
a
Sunday
week.
morning, it was like,
It was also an occasion. You got dressed for church.
yeah.
You got ready to go. Yeah,
And it was singing and dancing in church?
absolutely.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
And with so what was the dancing like in church? Like, was it, did it borrow from traditional stuff, or was it just like standing up, clapping kind of dancing, or while you're singing type thing, or?
It was a bit of both. There's obviously all age groups. So you had your older dancers, the grandmas, the grandpas, getting down. But then you also had the young kids whose idea of dance was just like shaking about, jumping,
Okay.
maybe. So it was a whole bunch, but there was also a traditional dance mixed in. There would be performances as well, like plays. There was a lot going on in my church in retrospect. But yeah, there was a mix of everything.
And so that was one thing that you would see. And then what about like, were there other events? Like, were you exposed to the traditional, like, were there traditional ceremonies or
I see.
traditional like where you would see like the older dance styles and stuff, like traditional Igbo dancing?
Yes. So whenever there was an occasion, a wedding, a festival, we had lots of festivals. We have these sort of like events where people masquerades would come out, and there's these huge costumed events where you come out and you dance as this character. It's kind of hard to explain in English, but I'll do my best. You come out, and at some point, you can't be out in the streets because it's a very also spiritual and sacred thing. But those festivals, there was lots of dancing, lots of performances. When someone is titled as chief in our tradition, there's also dancing and performing. Everything was a dance and a performance.
So you
to
just
be
were
honest,
surrounded with all this amazing dance growing up.
yeah,
Wow.
culturally and otherwise, it was just an all the time thing.
And now I understand.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't understand. I was like, you started training 6 years ago? I was like, no. There's a missing piece of this picture here, so I'm glad we got into that. Okay, so you came here. You came from all this dance and music and live music all the time at these
Yes.
events, right? And then you come here, and it's like it's like Mississauga. You know, music is like from the radio, and only kids listen to music.
Yeah.
And there's no music the rest of the time. So there was like a huge thing missing in your life, right?
Yeah.
And you found it right away in high school.
Yeah.
And then you found the street dance after.
Yeah.
And so that's amazing because like growing up, and I mean I started dancing in the 80s. It was always a part of me. Like listening to music was always a part of my life. And I feel like it's so, for people who are living the culture, street dance culture, house dance culture, house music culture, it's like such a part of our life. It's like essential, you know? And it's almost like, I don't know, the Western culture has strayed so far from what we naturally had. You know, I mean, we all come from Africa, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, to me, that's what we find, like as street dancers, as house dancers, we find that same love of music, and we maintain it in our life, you know?
Absolutely.
And so how would you say that, like, how would you compare those two worlds, like, in terms of the way that it is in Africa and the way that, let's say, street dance is in general, and the relationship to the music?
Oh, relationship to the music. Wow. I mean, I was talking about this the other day as well. I was just saying that dancing was such an everyday experience, right? It you know, found its way into every part of your life. You could be anywhere, you know, and as an African and as a Nigerian, it was just a consistent thing. So to me, I really took it for granted because, of course, you never think that you're gonna be 13 and move to a completely different country.
You're like a fish out of water.
For real.
You know?
You're not thinking about that, so you're just living your life day to day. But the thing here is that I don't think there's that sort of like connection to the root, right? The further we go into like our journeys in street dance, and like as the years pass, it's sad to say, but the connection to the root gets a little weaker with each year. And so you have people who do this, you know, participate in street dance culture and like call it their own, who really don't ever get to experience what it feels like from the source. And the source, I'm talking about like Africa, and, you know, seeing all of that live and in your face. So I think that goes into the connection to the music, because you don't experience someone just living through music every day. It's a part of them, and so like every vein in their body is reacting to this thing, you know, because you can't see it and you've never experienced it, you've never seen it before. It's not something that you can emulate or try to. You know, I think so. I think that's a little bit of why the relationship to the music in street dance, at least competitions and whatnot, is becoming a little strange.
I mean, the whole competition thing, that's a whole other topic as well, right?
Yeah.
So like, you know, dance to express rather than dance to impress, you know? So like, I think house culture has that connection that you're talking about. And I think, you know, Sarah and I for 10 years would make pilgrimages down to New York, and we would go to Funk Box and these parties where it was like, you know, it's that connection. It's that I think is the same essence of the connection to the music being part of the day-to-day life, you know? Like I would meet people who would take the train for like 3 hours from like Philly to come to that party, and it was like they were living and breathing that music and living and breathing the dance, you know? And it's like, it's just not present in other sides of North American culture. Like I just haven't seen it anywhere else. And I don't know, I guess I'm just like a freak, because when I was a kid, when I was like 9, 10, when I started listening to hip hop, it was like, it just took over my entire life, and it's still, I mean, I'm still chasing, I'm 43 and I'm still chasing the music, and it's just, I'm obsessed with it, you know. But in the general, you know, the saddest thing is when people say, oh yeah, I used to listen to music, and I used to listen to hip hop, or I used to dance in a club, or I used to b-boy, you know, I used to break. And I'd be like, you used to break, how can you stop? Like, how can you let that go? Or, you know, I used to club, and I used to rave or whatever. It's like, man, you don't have to stop. Like, I don't want to be the one who's always like, like people call me like the house pusher, like, you know, like,
I'm your pusher, man, for real.
But it's like, I just want to share this like amazing feeling of connection to the music and the liberation that comes from it, and it's just such a beautiful, and especially house, you know. I mean, and I love hip hop. It's just I have a lot of problems with a lot of the content in the hip hop, right?
Yeah, I see.
So I stopped really like self-identifying as like a hip hop producer, hip hop DJ, because I don't play like 90% of the hip hop that comes out. And
for sure.
It's just you know, and like, you know, it's part of hip hop for sure, but you know, certainly the violence aspect, which is also what gave birth to the whole competition aspect, which can be really positive, and it can be a beautiful way for dancers to grow and to share the art. But then, you know, so yeah, but let's talk about that stuff. Let's okay, so to the dance, like we'll come back to where we were. So you're 13, you're in the thing, then you move into the street dance, and you, like, I think of popping as like the ballet of street dance, because it requires so much effort, you know. And so you shied away from those things. You went for the more showy moves and stuff. And so you're basically like, you're a hip hop dancer, and you start entering contests as a hip hop dancer.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
so how was that?
At the time in Toronto, there wasn't a lot of like solely hip hop competitions.
Okay.
So I had to, you know, do my best with like mixed styles, all styles, freestyle battles.
Okay.
So there were times where I would want so much more because of who I was learning from. Just seeing like Mariano live, you know, that hip hop essence. I wanted it so bad that when someone told me, hey, if you really want a hip hop battle, like just hip hop, and you're tired of waiting, you should go to Montreal. And I was like 18 years old. My parents are looking at me like, okay, you want to go to Montreal to enter a competition?
Oh, wow.
Are they paying you? No. Are you paying your way? Yes. Do you have a place to stay? No. Why? Just cause.
Wow.
All right. As long as you can source it out, get the details planned out, we'll let you. And so I would make these trips down to Montreal, you know, get beat up for the first couple of times, but, you know, always land on my feet. And then I made my way here for Bust a Move, which was really the competition that, like, blew my mind, opened my eyes, and seeing all the talent from all around was just mad. And then,
Yeah, Bust a Move is crazy. I remember one year they had Herc playing. I was like, what? It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I just stood there like this, like the whole time, just like watching and just listening.
In flesh and blood, he is here.
Crazy. It was crazy.
That's wild.
No, but they've always been on the next level. So you got into that, and then so from the hip hop, like, how old were you when did you listen to house music at all when you were, or it was just hip hop for you?
I mean, I would hear house because, like I said, Mariana would teach a whole bunch of styles. You know, we were taught a whole bunch of styles. Forto would teach breaking, and they would bring in guest teachers as well. And so a few times, you know, he would teach a class. He would teach either house, or when a guest came in, you know, maybe Knoxander, Lady C, they would teach house music. But once again, I wasn't really connected to the music. I still couldn't make that connection. In my head, it sounded just, it couldn't be that this thing was rooted from what I knew, you know? I was restricting myself. So it was about the showiness, like, you know, the flashy, a true African child styles, you know, growing up watching football, you know, it was about like how fast can your feet move, and I always loved footwork, you know, watching footwork. So, you know, being a huge Michael Jackson fan at the time. So it was always about, you know, what's that step? What, you know, I wanted to know what Mariano was doing with his feet. I didn't really give any thought to the music yet.
Or the groove or anything like that.
No. I was a kid.
And so when you turned 18, you started going to club, or 19?
When I turned 20,
okay,
I started going to clubs.
And they're playing house music in the club?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it sort of began from there, the connection to like the greater, bigger picture. Seeing that this music, the rhythms, the drum patterns, this is very, very similar to what you know. And once I made those connections and sort of like had this eureka moment, it opened up a lot for me, even like physically, you know, once I let go of that mental block, you know, that was stopping me from connecting to the music.
Wow. Did you find house music cheesy when you first heard it? Or, because like a lot of people say that to me, if they come from hip hop, they're like, I don't know, but like, you know, kind of sounds cheesy.
I didn't find it cheesy.
That's cool.
Because, and this is like crazy to say, I found hip hop music cheesy.
Really? Eh?
Yeah,
Coming from listening to traditional,
yeah,
like you must have been listening to also like the Nigerian rock. Like, I mean, King Sunny Ade, you know, Fela,
Osadebe, and all of those artists. I was listening to lots of High Life because that's what my dad listened to.
Yeah, you
know, but also like my mom would play more funk music.
Really? Eh?
She played Prince, James Brown, Michael Jackson.
That's a pretty good mix right there.
Yeah, exactly.
From High Life to funk. That's amazing. You grew up with. Oh my God.
For sure, and like you said, Fela Kuti was like a big part of my life, and like listening to his music. My mom would play Bob Marley as well.
Okay.
So there was a huge mix in there. But I found hip hop music a little bit lifeless, you know, just coming from where I was.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So when I started making the connection to house music, I was like, oh snap, this is what I like, just in a different format. And I started hearing, you know, like I said, the drum patterns, the rhythms, you know, each section of music, and thinking, wow, this is awesome.
That's dope.
Yeah.
And in terms of the dance, like, I mean, for me, house music has this whole dimension where I don't even almost think of it as like a visual art form. I just think of it as a rhythmic art form. Because like, for me, you know, the way I fell in love with house music, and I kind of didn't understand house music until I really started experiencing it in the clubs. Like, I mean, I would listen to some of the new stuff that was coming out at the time. I mean, house was like, you know, it wasn't like it is today with the whole different spectrum of all the different styles of house. But when I first started listening to it and dancing to it is when I really started to understand it. And a lot of it was like dancing in a dark room where you're not really, like, it's not really your seshing with people. You were just like expressing yourself in a dark environment where you're just, you know, you're freeing yourself in the music and just like finding yourself in the music, you know? And so, like, how do you think of house music? Like, how does Kosi understand house? Is it like are you thinking of it the way that you would when you're on the dance team and you're like planning out moves and stuff like that? Or is it more of a natural response to the music that you have? Like, or is it a combination? Like, how much of it is the rhythm versus like, are you thinking about movements?
I think I've come a long way in how I like connect and think about house music. It took a lot of influences, you know, to really get to me to source out for myself what I thought. So I took a lot of inspiration from watching people like Knox Sander, Lady C.
Knox is amazing, by the way.
Oh my gosh! Shout out to Knox Sander.
Yo, Knox. Wow.
Lady C, and these were like sort of like local heroes to me, Mariano as well. And watching the way that they moved and being a little frustrated because I just didn't feel like that. I didn't feel like what I saw. Because to me, I felt like they made me feel something, and I felt like I didn't make people feel anything.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it took a while, and then there was just a moment where I started listening to what people were saying, not just hearing. You know, I was listening and processing and taking in. And so there are a few moments where some words just really hit home, and it changed the way that I thought about house music. And so I started sourcing it out. For me, funk music was fun, and I'm there to just have a good time, dance with the people around me, show love. It's always to show love. Hip hop is a little bit more political, talking about my experiences, where I'm from, how tough it is or how good it is to be me, you know what I mean? It was very political. And house music just got to a point where it's very spiritual. It became about conversations, not with the physicality, but with the spiritual aspect of the person in front of you. What are we digging for? We're digging deep for something, and so the music always got me there. And now,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, every time that I listen to a house song, my friends know, they'll just watch me and they're just like, Kosi, where's Kosi? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're playing house music.
You're bugging on it.
Yeah, bugging out. But yeah, I'm at that point now where it's just there's a higher purpose, talking not just, like I said, for people to hear me, but for people to listen and to feel. And I feel like the music always gets me there if I listen well enough. If that made any sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, there's something about house music, and I mean, it's the whole way that the music came about. It's the fact that it's this crazy multicultural thing, that's like rooted in African music, but would have never happened if it wasn't for German polka music, because that's what those drum machines were. They were polka accompaniment machines,
Oh my gosh.
That's what it is.
No way.
That's what the 808 is. It was a polka accompaniment machine.
He said German polka music.
That's what it is. That's what made house music. Is that plus African music. Think about that.
That's
crazy,
deep.
right?
That's
it's crazy. Like, it's like this miracle in music and culture also. And like, to me, New York is like the place that all this sauce, this secret sauce, like, Bravo La Fortune, Brahms, he said to me once, he's like, listen, man, he's like, everybody all around, they're the French fries. He's like, we the potatoes.
Oh,
he's like, but it's true. It's like, there's something about that, the people that were in that movement in the late 70s and early 80s, and the way that, the all those cultures came together in that one specific place in that time, with technology the way that it was at the time, that just created this thing that to me is like changed the game for the whole world. I mean, you go anywhere all over the world now, and everybody knows hip hop. All the kids know hip hop. I mean, a lot of them are doing it in their own language. There's like all these different movements, and like, just imagine if that had never happened. I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, I don't know, man. New York has like changed me.
Yeah.
Going over there and just being with those people and learning the art from the originators of it is just like, it's powerful, man. There's something just, it's a miracle to me. I mean, the music and house is just miraculous also. And it keeps evolving, and like some of the things that are happening in house I'm not really into, but some, like this party I just played, man, it was crazy. It was all Afro house all night. It was crazy, and there's so many people there, every color person, just everybody dancing, having a good time. There was kids, it was like a crazy party, man, crazy outdoor party. It was beautiful. Like, but that connection to the music is like, it's so key, and it's like, it's so important to me. But I talk to 99% of the people you talk to during the day, they don't they don't have that relationship to music, you know? And so, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm crazy, but then I see you and like people who are just as into it, and I'm like, wow, hey, maybe I'm not crazy.
It's always a good feeling. You're like,
know?
oh, someone understands me.
It's an obsession.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Factual.
Yeah, but people say that to me all the time. Oh yeah, I used to party, I used to go out and stuff, and I'm like, you don't have to stop.
You used to.
You can just listen in your car. I mean, all these, it's easier than ever now to listen to the freshest stuff that's coming out, because it's just, you know, streaming. You can follow, you know, tastemakers and listen to their playlists. I mean, I spend a lot more time now than I ever have going through music, and it's just nuts. I mean, there is literally now an Afro House section on Traxsource, one of the big, like the record stores.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, I go through there and I literally will buy, I don't know, 20, 30% of the stuff that's on there, which is nuts for me because, you know, there was a time where I was sorting through 20, 30 records before I would find one that I would buy. Ooh. And it's like, it's getting easier and easier to find. And the music's just getting better and better, I think. It's crazy. Like, some of the new stuff that's coming out is mind-blowing, so I don't know, I'm having a blast.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
amazing.
Man. We live in a good time for music.
Oh my god, it's a great time for music, and at the same time, like, I've had to kind of accept a lot of the changes in the music industry, because for a while I was putting out a lot of records and things were going really well, and record sales were like a thing, like we're making a living off of making music, you know. And then the internet came, and you know, the Napster thing, and just killed the whole industry. Yeah, it just killed the whole industry completely. So, and for a long time I was pretty bitter about it. Like for 10 years I was really bitter about it, and then about like, you know, 8-10 years ago I was just like, okay, I'm just not even gonna worry about trying to sell this, I'm just gonna put it out. And the minute I started just giving everything away, it just started getting better and better, and now it's been amazing.
Dope.
Yeah, like,
that's good to hear.
You just have to kind of allow yourself to embrace change, and I mean, I think that's also in dance and everything else in life, you know. For sure.
I mean, like, I come from like the other side of like LimeWire and Napster, where we as kids were so happy that we could get this for free now. Like, I mean, the poorer kids, you know, we were, you know, the ones that wanted to hear this music, we wanted to share it with each other, but just didn't have the means. And so, it wasn't good for the artists and people who were putting in all this hard work. But we didn't understand that. What we understood was like, you know, we're getting something finally, like, for free. Yeah.
And I mean, it's natural. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's like, you can't, you know, there was I forget who the DJ is. He gave this conference. It was at one of those music conferences, and he was talking about this, and he said, he's like, well, how much money do you make when you sell a CD? And he was like, it was like, you know, 70 cents or whatever. He's like, how much money do you make if you sell a t-shirt? And he's like, $25. And the guy's like, well, why don't you just sell t-shirts? Like, why do you have to sell a CD? And then the dude was like, wow, that's a good point. Like, why am I hanging on to this? But it's just natural. Like, we don't allow ourselves to shift. And I think, like, part of becoming a successful, and this is something we talk about too for your dance, like, how does somebody get better at dance? Because it's a question, like, we teach, you know, basic house classes, and people always ask, you know, I can't do this, and there's so much negative baggage that people have in terms of going into a dance class, and just even getting them to the dance class is like next to impossible. You know? But even once they're there, then they're bringing all this like negative, you know, like the amount of times that people have said to me, oh, I'm white, I can't dance. And I'm like, seriously? Like, I'm white, like, I'm your teacher, I'm your dance teacher. Like, why are you even saying that? But there's this huge, like, negative stigma around dance. And, like, people are just like, oh, I'm just 2 left feet, I can't dance, I can't move, you know, it's just not me. And it's like, it's brutal. I mean, we're living in like a desert of dance culture, basically. And you just came from like the oasis of dance culture in the world, you know?
Like, hey, how's it going, guys?
So yeah, like, so how do you see that? Like, what do you think about that?
About sort of how
just
it is
how people think about, like, how the mental blocks that people have about dancing and learning how to dance, you know?
Oh man, I think everything is so personal. So I think the mental blocks come from like, you know, a part of you that's just so unwilling because there's something stopping you. You don't know what it is, but everything is connected in our bodies. I think, you know, it could be a bad memory in a dance class, or like watching dance, you know, and it's stuck in you, and so it's really like stopping you. It could be a whole bunch of things, but I'm like, that's one example. And I've heard that before, where it's like, oh, as a kid I tried dance classes, but you know, they left me with a bad taste in my mouth, and now I can never be in a dance class again. So there's a whole bunch of things that are playing off of each other. And so like talking about like people who sort of want to get better but don't know how, I think again it's a very personal experience. You have to source out for yourself, one, do I love this music enough? Like, is this music moving me? If it isn't, maybe it's just not for you.
It's the wrong dance class.
Yeah, you know.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing, and nobody talks about that.
No.
It's like, if you don't love the music, how are you gonna love dancing to it? You know?
It has to move you. It has to move you. It has to like move the deepest parts of you to motivate you to move your actual body. That's what I think, you know, and that's the point I've gotten to. So
what happens if you're in the club then and you're dancing with your friends, and how do you deal with music that you don't like? The DJ throws something on, you just think it's just not speaking to you at all.
How?
So what do you do at those points?
I still try to appreciate it, because I'm thinking about the person who produced that piece of music,
somebody
right?
made that.
They put their hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, so to say, into this piece of art. And so, you know, there's sometimes like when I've been to a museum and my friends are looking at a piece of art, let's say Basquiat or something like that, and they see it, they clearly see it. The picture is right there in front of them and it means something to them. But for me, I'm looking at it and I don't see anything. It could mean that I'm just haven't connected to that part of myself that can read this. So, you know, I want to appreciate it. I paid money, so I can try at least.
That's
and then,
neat.
so it's either after looking at that piece of art and sourcing out, okay, maybe I need to work harder, or I still appreciated it. It's just not meant for me, at least not right now. That's what I sort of think.
So you just try to dance to it anyway in the club. You'll just be like,
At least try, shake a leg, 1, 2, you know. You know,
just try to connect.
maybe
to
there's
it.
a rhythm in there I've never heard before, you know. Take something at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you started, it was like personalized choreography that you were doing, and then you got into street dance. Obviously, like the teaching styles, when you started to learn the street dance, you must have been like, oh, this is all like very repetitious, and it's more about, you know, internalizing, like we, you know, a lot of the old heads that we've studied with in New York, there's no choreo. Like it's just straight, it's grooves and it's footwork and steps, you know.
For sure.
And so did you find it, like, did it shock you, or did you find it really different? Did you find it easier to learn, or are you good at choreo? Is it something that comes naturally to you?
I mean, I think, once again, I have home to thank for it. Like, culturally, like dance-wise, we never did routines, except if it was like for a play or something. We never liked it. You know, you never wanted to just sit there and watch someone else tell you what to do.
Yeah.
We're stubborn kids. But also because of the schooling system, we were very disciplined as well.
Okay.
So we, you know, you didn't like something, but you still had to do it because that's the way it was. And so, for me, choreography wasn't something I liked doing. I knew that it didn't sit well with me, but because I was disciplined, I did it anyway. So before I started enjoying music and finding, you know, dance for myself and how it fit in my body, I was a part of a few choreography teams, and it just never felt right, but I still did it because I wanted to be connected, and this is what I thought dance was at the time.
I think a lot of people think that's what dance is.
Yeah, you know, at least for me. So for some people it makes complete sense, but it didn't make sense for me. But I was like, I know there's something here in dance. It's just not this, but I don't want to let go at the same time. I was trying to source it out, and then lo and behold, street dance.
Yeah.
saved my life.
And do you think, like, how valid a tool do you think it is to, as a self-improvement tool for dancers to do choreo?
It improves a part of your dancing, and that's like sort of like the part that needs, if it, you know, you could be a different type of learner. And it's so, choreography I think is something that's like repetitious, right? You repeat it until you internalize it becomes muscle memory. And it also works with the part of your brain that is able to receive and process, you know, information. You're watching somebody else's movement. How are you going to fit it in your body? That's something you can train as well. So I think it helps that side, you know. I think what I learned from doing choreography was in the age of the internet where you can watch someone across the world, you know, in a competition or just dancing. What it helped me do was watch them, rewind, watch again. Yeah. How are they getting in and out of that? What is the mechanics? How can I fit not the exact movement, but what they're thinking of into myself?
That's deep.
Yeah. So that choreography helped me in that way.
There's an amazing interview that Amy Sakata, who's part of the Mawu,
yes,
she did with I think it was Archie Burnett, and he's talking about how, you know, you can learn. I forget, he's doing this move like this, like a punch thing, and he's like, you can learn that punch and you can just do it, but unless the emotional content is in it, that the original person who was doing that move, it's not the same move anymore, right? Like, unless you really feel the same thing that person did at the time. And so to me, like, it's almost like a lot of the choreo, and I've seen some great choreo where it's like
mind blowing. Yeah,
it's mind blowing. It's so technical, but then also, I guess it's the delivery of it. And when a dancer is that good that they can really, I don't know, I think you have to understand the whole culture of the dance. And so, I've seen some amazing, you know, like Jabberwockies and guys that are like just doing just dope choreo, and it's believable, they're selling it. But I find a lot of the time it's like an empty shell, and I see all the movements, but I don't feel the connection to it. I don't think they're connected to it. And so it's like, it's almost like pretending to talk in some language. Like, I can memorize, you know, you could say something in a foreign language, I can memorize the sounds and say it, but unless I'm really understanding what the words mean and I have the culture of that whole language, like, it's going to be really hard for me to speak those words effectively and put them across, you know what I mean?
For sure.
I see that a lot, and I'm not sure how good it is for people's dance, actually. Like, it's, I think it's good for my dance because I'm so bad at choreo, and I love trying to, like, I find it such a good challenge for me because I really, like, it just does not come naturally to me. Some people, I think, are just really good at learning those things.
Yeah.
But we try, like, Sarah and I we try to do choreo classes, like we make an effort to do it, but it never leaves me with the same, like, when, you know, like, when I do a move that somebody's taught me, often, like, I just have this, like, overwhelming memory of the person who taught me the move. And it's amazing. Like, I'll be in a party, I'll be dancing with people, and I'll just do the move. Yeah. And I just feel like that teacher of mine is there with me, you know? Like, it's amazing. I love it. It's like almost every move that I know, I remember the person who taught me, and it's like, it's become kind of a part of me after, you know? And it's like this gift that people give you. When you first start, I think, to train and dance and really, you know, apply yourself to learning dance. Yeah. I find it's all these little bits, you know, it's like little snapshots or little, you know, short little gifs of, you know, like
collection of experiences.
Yeah. But then they become you know?
Yeah. You start stringing them together with yourself and becomes.
So that's basically how you learn too, is like all these different, like when you're doing stuff, do you remember, like, are those moves so much a part of you now that you don't even think about that? Or do you still remember where the move comes from when you do it? Or?
Oh no, I'm a very emotional person.
Okay.
So you're like you just said, whenever I do a move or like a step or a combo, you know, or something like that someone taught me, especially someone that I have good memories of. And obviously, or sometimes still know to this day, or they're not with me. You know, that feeling that I had when I was with them is in that move still.
That's amazing, eh?
Yeah, I mean, like,
that's incredible.
Or even just like for me, when I've watched someone do something, and I sort of try to emulate that feeling that I got from watching them, is what I try to, express. I have an aunt that passed away, but for me now, like, there's a certain like aura that she had. She never listened to house music, danced to house music, but traditionally there was an aura she had when she moved. There was a way she moved, and so whenever I'm feeling like I need to connect, like I miss her.
Wow.
There's this way that I start to move because I'm like, this, you're speaking through me right now.
That's deep, man.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So most definitely. So it's more about the experience I had, that feeling I had when I was with whoever. And sometimes you just do a really hard move that you learned, and you're like, yes, I got it. And you look around like, oh, the person's not here. They can't celebrate with me right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man. So, in the Igbo dancing, like, are there some traditional dances like that where there's like you're embodying like a certain spirit or anything like that? Like, how the Yoruba have all the different the pantheon, the Orishas, and so in each of them there's certain dances that are like more of a warrior dance or more like a feminine energy or whatever. Is there anything like that in the Igbo dancing?
Oh, for sure. We have like this whole pantheon as well, and like there's this way that Igbo people are embodied. They're the resourceful, hardworking, rooted, like and you get rooted people, and you can see it in the dance traditionally. There's a few. Now I was 13, so I'm starting to forget the names, but I can easily ask my mother or something like that.
Yeah.
But when you see Igbo people dance, it's very close to the floor, very grounded, and sort of just like you can see the narrative of being from the earth.
Wow.
And being this hardworking, resourceful group of people. And there's this thing that my parents always say, that Igbo people are directly descended from the Hebrews in the Bible. And, the Hebrews were, once again, this very hardworking and resourceful group of people. So, it definitely comes through in the traditional dancing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, in terms of your dance journey, so where do you see yourself going with this? Like, what do you have any like dance goals, or do you have any kind of aspirations? What are you working on? Like, where do you want to take this? Like, either in terms of how you want to present the dance to the world, or in terms of like what you want to learn, how you want to grow. Like, where are you going with this?
A good friend of mine has this saying that it's a growth mindset. So for me, at this point, where I see myself is like growing with every experience and feeling like I do now about this for a really long time, for as far as I can, or for as much as I can, because right now, like, my body is willing, my spirit is willing, right? And those are two things that maybe as time goes by, maybe your body is not so willing, your spirit is still willing, or vice versa. So for me, what I'm trying to do is keep the fire, the light that's inside of me burning forever, or for as long as I can. And the best way I can do that is just to keep sourcing out what this music means to me, what the culture means to me, and share that. It's not about being selfish because somebody gave to me, and so I have to do the same.
Nice.
I think I want to share the good feeling too.
Nice.
It's always a good feeling.
And by sharing it, you grow so much, right? find like every person I teach or every person I dance with is like there's an exchange that's happening, and you get as much. Often when you're teaching, you get as much out of them as they are out of you. You know.
For sure.
Just seeing how people's bodies respond to certain moves and how they internalize stuff. It's crazy how much you learn. In regards to the longevity of dancers, so I have like very extreme opinions with it. I'm just gonna give you my spiel. You gotta find a daily practice where you can do like a daily stretching practice.
Oh, for sure.
That is like, oh, it's so key, man.
For sure.
But I do a lot of movement stuff. I'm doing a lot of parkour and like teaching yoga and doing a lot of that kind of practicing, and it's huge. Like for if you want to be a mover for the rest, and there's no reason you can't dance your entire life right up until the end, you know. You just have to take care of your body, and body needs to stretch, man.
For sure. For sure. We work it so hard. That's the exchange right there as well. Like within yourself, you work your body to like its extremes, but you forget that you need to feed it all the good stuff too.
Oh my God, and good food too, right?
Yeah, for sure. Watching what you eat, you know, watching what you put into your body.
It's so easy not to do that too in the world. I mean, fast food everywhere. And just like, I find dancers are usually pretty conscious of their diet. You kind of have to be.
I mean,
Your body's your instrument.
For sure. For sure. If you want to keep getting the best out of it, you got to do the best to it.
So you're just going to keep pursuing it, and just you're open to all these different opportunities. Like you mentioned, you've been teaching classes, and then you're doing stuff like outreach stuff in schools and stuff as well, or?
Yes. Right now I'm with Unity Charity.
Okay.
Which is this like organization that works through hip hop. You know, teaching kids how to like express their stress and like about mental health, and
That's
all
great.
through the different hip hop art forms. And
that's great.
so I'm with them right now. And we're
Who
doing
runs Unity? They brought me to play one time.
Michael Prosserman,
Okay.
B-Boy Pieces, he is the
Pieces,
founder.
That's right. Pieces, yeah.
But right now there's he stepped down and there's somebody else who's taking charge. But
Okay.
so I'm with them.
That's great.
And we're doing all the outreach in schools and community work and stuff like that. But also I'm trying to travel a lot, because like you're talking about that exchange. I feel like the best way to grow myself is to go and experience how other people in Sweden, Germany, how they see house, and see how I can fit that into myself. Do I want it? Do I not want it? You know?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Have you been to New York?
Yes.
Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah. New York's so dope. So who are some of your favorite New York dancers, people that you've studied with or trained with, or parties, or?
So last year I met Cricket.
Okay, Cricket's so dope.
I love Cricket.
Dope.
Instantaneously, I was like, "You are a crazy kid."
Yeah, he's amazing.
Sekou.
Sekou is so dope.
Incredible mover, incredible human being.
He is.
I've had the pleasure of being around Khalif.
Khalif's amazing.
Lots
too.
of times. Wichaway Shah.
Shah's amazing too.
Tony McGregor.
Tone.
And
you go to his
Shiness.
Monday night class up in the high rise there?
Yo, I've actually never been, but I've heard some crazy things.
Oh man, Tone's dope.
I've taken a few of his classes, a couple workshops, and
actually Dazzle came out to my show tonight.
Oh yeah?
You know Dazzle?
Yeah, dope.
Dazzle's so dope.
Dope.
It's amazing, man. These guys, like, the amount of training that they do is just ludicrous amount of training, you know?
Yeah.
They're superhumans.
I mean, of course. That's why they do it. They've been doing it for so long.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I remember Tone telling me I think he was pretty young, like he was in his late teens.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking because Sarah, my wife, had she had a knee surgery. She had ACL replacement. We were dancing in a park, and we went on this tour in China, and we were dancing in this parking lot, and it was actually for the Chinese government. They had us on this tour. We were like a circus act, honestly. It was really embarrassing. They were like the Canadians, and they had like a couple of my indigenous friends who were singing, and then they had like and we thought we were going there as like the indigenous component, and then there was the house dance component and all this stuff, and they're like, and then they booked like this this African friend of mine who plays djembe, and so she was there, and they had like, it was just this mishmash of all these different Canadian artists. And then on the first day we show up and we're like, okay, so what time are we on at and stuff, and they're like, okay, you Canadians, you're playing at this time for 15 minutes, and we're like, what do you mean we're playing for 15? We're like, we don't even, like, we know each other just because we're all artists, and you know, we've happened to cross paths before. We didn't come here as like a team. They're like, no, you're the Canadian team, you're gonna like do a show. So like literally like last minute, okay, well, so you guys will be standing in front, you'll be drumming, we'll be following you, and my friend the power dancer is gonna do his thing, and then I'm gonna do this, and we just like came up with this show, right?
Like right on the spot.
Brutal. It was brutal. It was so bad. Anyway, they had us in this parking lot in the middle of nowhere, and they're like, okay, you're gonna practice. You have to do your show at this point, and we're like, well, what time? Like, can you tell us the exact time? They're like, we'll tell you when it's time. So we're standing in this cold parking lot, and they're like, okay, now you do your show, and they were filming it for the TV, and then they're like, okay, now you stop, and so we basically had to stand there for like 2 hours, and then they're like, okay, now you do the show again, and we went out, and we're all like, we've been hot, and then we're cold and hot and cold, and Sarah hit a pothole in the parking lot, and she just like tore her ACL. It was terrible. Oh, it was horrible. And we had like 10 days left to do, so she did the full 10 days after with a torn ACL.
No.
Anyway, but we were talking about this, and Tone was like, yeah, I tore my ACL when I was 18, and I didn't want to do surgery, so I just decided I would just make myself so strong that it wouldn't even matter if I had an ACL. So he just started doing like, he just started doing like leg curls and leg like extensions. Basically.
Dancing with ankle weights.
Yeah, and like he went like beast mode, and he basically made his quads so strong that they hold his leg away. But he still doesn't have an ACL. Like basically he's just, you know, if ever he stops training, he won't be able to.
Oh my goodness.
He's such a beast, man. Like,
Tony,
these guys are beasts.
Is a wild one.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, in terms of the body stuff, like, do you have any practices like that? Like, how much of the conditioning do you do versus like technical dancing?
Well, because like I have a lot of friends who break, I've watched them go through injury after injury, and just because like the fire is burning hot and the adrenaline is pushing you through, they've done some pretty like irreparable like damage to their like bodies. And so I'm someone who learned, I'm a middle child as well, so I learned from my you know, whoever's mistakes. From a young age, I've always been like, you did that and you got, you know, beat up by mom. I'm not gonna do that. That's, you know,
good mindset.
So I'm watching my friends break and, you know, hurting themselves, and I was like, okay, so this has got to not happen. And after like spraining my ankles a few times, like, you know, I had to start figuring out that like, you know, I needed to get stronger. So I started doing a lot of calisthenics to strengthen, you know, doing like body weight stuff. Nice. I've always been like a lanky kid, but then I started putting on the muscle from that, and it helped my dance as well. Yeah. And then with that, you know, doing all this intense work, I had to learn how to have a practice of cooling down, warming up properly every part of my body, you know, and really listening to it too, being able to say, okay, I've had enough for today. It doesn't matter how fiery I am right now. You need to chill. So with that came like stretching, buying things like a foam roller, knowing that I have to have that, you know, learning from other people as well, like who are more than just dancers, but actual like health practitioners, and asking like, what can I do for this? How can I stretch this? You know, and really getting to know my body like that.
Oh, that's great.
Building my knowledge.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in it for the long run, you got to take care of that instrument.
Yo, for sure. Yeah, my mom was tired of me coming back and limping. She's like, you're going to start taking care of yourself or you stop dancing. And I'm like, that's a steep ultimatum.
Yeah, you got to do something about it.
For sure.
So your parents are pretty, like, it sounds like they're very supportive of your dance.
They are now.
Okay.
They are now. When I mean, like anybody else, when you see the fruits of the labor and you see that your child is enjoying it and loves this thing, of course you're gonna come around eventually. So yeah, they're here with me. They're here with me.
And are you intending to do this professionally, like forever type thing?
As long as the spirit is willing, I think. I think I might get drawn towards something else, but being a part of the culture, absolutely forever.
Yeah.
But in terms of dancing, I don't know. My name in my language means, it's Kosi Eze, means like as the creator wants it.
Whoa.
So whatever will be, will be.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing great now. You're
Thank
killing
you.
it, man.
I appreciate that.
I'm looking forward to this. It's basically the NEC has hired us to bring the Capital Sessions into the NEC. The NEC is it's a federally funded, it's a big arts center.
Yeah.
So, I think they're trying to break out of this sort of more traditional kind of stuffier image, and they're trying to bring some life into it, So
For sure.
it's fun. It's been like a kind of a mixed bag. Some of them have been really good. Others have been not as busy. But it's good, man. Like it's a good vibe, and you'll like Mellow T.
Yeah.
He's a Zimbabwean guy. He's super dope DJ.
Sick.
All Afro house, like just amazing music. It's gonna be fun. It'll be a really good afternoon on Sunday. And tomorrow night the battle is gonna be crazy.
Oh yes, I'm super excited
It's
just
gonna
to
be
like
really fun.
I've been coming into Ottawa for a couple of years, and
Nice.
every time it's always a good vibe. So
Nice. Yeah, we have a good scene in Ottawa.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, "Oh, Ottawa's boring" or whatever, but it's so not. Like, you just have to know. It's a smaller town, right? So
Exactly.
but even in the big cities, it's the same thing, have to
we just
know.
know each other more, I guess, or like we see each other more often.
Yeah, there's more of you, so
Yeah.
it's like there's
Facts.
5 times more people.
Exactly.
So there's five times more great dancers and 5 times more whack dancers.
That is a fact.
It's just 5 times more of everything, So
Yeah.
5 times more traffic.
Oh my gosh.
Every time I go to Toronto, I can't believe you guys deal with that. It is crazy. I mean, Montreal's, bad too, but not like Toronto is. Toronto is just on the next level.
Big city.
It is. It's a huge city, actually. It's big geographically too. Like it's wide.
Yeah, for sure.
You drive from the east to the west is like.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's uncanny.
You're taking the subway from end to end.
Yeah.
Something else.
So how is the scene like in Toronto? What would you say? Like is it going off? Are there some good parties that you really like going to?
Oh wow. I think the scene is in a good place right now.
Yeah.
Are we talking house-wise or just like in general?
Yeah, it can be house or hip hop or dance.
House-wise, I think we're in a good place. We are at a point where people are starting to, kind of break out of the basics mindset and start to go experience places like New York, and 36 Chambers just happened.
Yeah.
So lots of Canadians were in the classes, and people I know, and they're starting to travel more, come to Montreal, Vancouver, getting to know their own country.
Nice.
So it's pretty good, and I'm excited to see what happens after summer as we come back, and how we're all going to share with each other, how the experiences will change people.
Cool.
So it feels good right now, and also some of like the more established dancers are starting to like represent outside of Canada and really show that we have a lot of flavor, a lot of character as Canadian dancers. So it's a good time.
Oh, that's great. Well, I think you're gonna have an amazing time in Amsterdam.
Super excited. Lots of Canadians going as well, representing in all styles. So it's gonna be awesome.
Oh, that's dope. Are you guys going together? Is anybody else going with you? Or?
There's a few people coming with me. J Style,
Okay.
Dope Popper from Montreal, part of my crew as well. A couple of dancers from Toronto. It's just gonna be a good time. Monster Pop is one of the judges, so
Wow,
gonna rep.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about you coming up. We talked about a lot of the cultural aspects of the dance. What about like the battle versus the? We touched on it a little bit,
Yeah.
but like, how do you see the battle side of street dance culture in general? How much of it do you think is like essential to the core of the street dance? And then, does it have a negative side as well?
I think to get the best out of battles, and they are good for different reasons, just the way that like learning a routine and learning choreography works a certain part of your brain. Battles help with like your decision making, your timing, your precision, a whole bunch of these things that are like skills that you can enhance your dance and like the visual aspect and the aesthetic. So
being under pressure,
what comes out exactly what comes out, so I think battles are a good tool to learn how to express, but it's only for a certain mindset. If you become so fixated on the outcome, whether it's like a win or a loss, you lose the essence of why you're doing it in the first place. You're doing it to grow, or you should be doing it to grow, I think. And so when it becomes more about did I win or did I lose, or did I make it far in the battle, you start to lose what you should be doing and what works best, I think. So it's a double-edged sword, but only the sharpest minds can get the best out of it. Yeah.
It's like I've done a lot of martial arts in my life, and ultimately, I mean, it always comes down to you're the only adversary that you really have. It's all about defeating yourself and like overcoming your ego, and that's the real battle.
For real. Sometimes your ego needs to take a huge fall in order for you to like really grow. And I think like with ego comes complacency and all these other things that really fight against the true essence of the dance. So battles are great. I enjoy them.
It's funny, like they weren't house battles before,
No.
That's a pretty recent phenomenon.
I can imagine. And there's been this whole thing about, is that good for the culture? Is that good for the dance? Where is it taking it?
I think it's good to get, it's like Sarah and I talk about this all the time. So like Alea just started doing this with Arnaldo, putting these battles together. Like we've been doing our capital sessions, it's 10 years now, and we never threw a single battle, like we threw events and like just jams, and almost every Saturday I'll get like, a guest list together for the club that I'm at, or get us into a club somewhere so we can dance. And usually the Mercury Lounge in Ottawa. Shouts out to the Mercury Lounge, Claudia. And John, who's been running it. It's been amazing. And Sarah. But it's like for house, it was really not a battle dance. Like it was really an exhibition dance. It's very different from the impetus, the original impetus of b-boying, which was really the battle. So I wasn't sure about it, but I do think that it's pushed the art form technically to a place where I don't know if it would be if it wasn't for the battles, because like house dance forever, summer dance forever, all the ADE, Amsterdam Dance Event, like all, Juste Debout,
IBE,
man, all those, like, it's really changed. It's changed. I mean, it's changed everything. It's also changed b-boying. Like, I mean, b-boying is just like not at all what it started out as
on
anymore,
a next level. It's like a sport now.
It literally is an Olympic sport. That's crazy, right?
Crazy.
It's amazing how much. Like, where's it gonna go? Like, I mean,
sky is the beginning. Not even the limit.
Real.
Sky is the beginning. the more it spreads to like the the far reaches of the world, the better it gets, I think.
So I mean, I think it's good for House's PR. It's like
for sure.
House has a PR problem, man. Like, I mean, I tell people I'm a house dancer, and they're like, what house dancer? Like, people don't even know what house dance is.
I know that look.
It's like we need to do something. So it's great for that, like, to get it out so that people see it. And it seems that people are more interested in seeing people battle than just dance. You know? Which I can understand. It's kind of abstract, like, unless you've experienced it yourself. Yeah. Maybe it's hard to understand what's going on, or it doesn't speak to you. And house is not like the most showy, people want to see power moves and like, dislocated shoulders and like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, like turfing, it's like you do something like that and it's like, whoa, this iconic move, or like, a dip in Vogue, or like, I mean, or windmills, or like air flares or something,
something
like,
visually appealing.
Something that's like, oh, I could never do that. Whereas with house, it's like, oh, I can dance, I can do that, or whatever. That guy's just standing up, or like, it's like not showy, in a way. So I don't know. It's like it has a PR problem in some way. So I think the battles are good for that. Like, it gets people hype about watching it. And so anything that we can do is good. But I do think that with some people who are battling, if you understand house and you're a house head and you're battling, you're gonna battle in a really different way from if you're either a hip hop kid or just a general personalized choreography dancer who's taken a few house classes and now is going to enter this contest. And I think it's pretty it can easily drift from what the original mind state of the dance, the spiritual mind state that we're talking about, right? So it can do more harm than good in some ways, sometimes too, with the battles, right? So,
but at the same time, that's the thing, like, I think it's so important to source out what it means to you, right? Because once you realize what it means to you, and you see, like, for example, in a battle, whoever makes it to the finals, because they're there for a reason, right? They've been picked because they're showing whatever the best at the moment. You're watching them operate. You should feel like, hey, this is what this is what I'm reaching for. That sort of connection to the music that has gotten them this far in this competition, or like makes the audience gravitate to them, or the judge gravitate to them. So I think it's a give or take. So knowing what it means will help you get there. Because I know, like, my first ever house battle, I just say to this day, I faced Lady C, top 16 house category, and I was like, wow, okay, cool. And I remember how I felt after that battle. I was filled with inspiration. I'm ready to work my butt off to get to that, because she just showcased such class, such beauty, full of the essence of it, of this thing that I didn't even understand, but I felt it, and I was like, I want to get there someday.
I read this quote, I can't remember the exact quote, but basically saying how whatever the dancer is thinking or feeling, the whole audience can tell. And I was like, it's something I've thought about often, and I've felt that sometimes when I'm in a mindset, I'm thinking about something, or I really do feel like you transmit these thoughts through your dance, What do you think about that?
Oh, I think that is like a big fact. I've always thought that energy can't lie. Yeah. And so, like, if
that's scary as a dancer.
Your energy cannot lie. You can't. It's like you can't fake the funk, right?
No, you cannot.
You really can't. So, like, if you're coming in thinking that you can sort of like pass off something that's not even fully formed for something else, like, it's not possible. The people can see through you.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I believe that 100%. Energy doesn't lie, and your spirit does not lie either.
like you've done shows and stuff like that where it's like a show on stage type thing?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy doing that stuff? Or?
I enjoy it because I enjoy interpreting. Like I've done shows like a breaking convention where it's like, you know, hip hop theater.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed interpreting something that someone has given me, like a piece of choreography or routine that they've given me in my way, but still keep to what needs to be done.
Yes.
Right? And like sort of bringing my honesty and my truth of how I feel about whatever style it is, like hip hop, house, locking.
That's cool.
And bringing that through this person's vision, you know?
It's a good challenge.
Yeah.
By the way, where am I driving?
We don't know where we're going. I'm going to Alea and effects.
Do you have her address?
Yeah, I think I
they're
do.
in Barhaven, I think.
What's that?
Are they? They're in Barhaven, I think. Yeah, I don't even know where they live.
I have no idea. Y'all, if you watch this, I have no idea where you live, you know? How long have you been dancing, do you mind me asking?
So I remember we lived in Europe for a while. We moved back when I was 8 and made friends with a kid on the street who was into the early hip hop.
Yeah.
His dad was a Jamaican DJ and we just started dancing then. So I was like 8, 9 years old. Took it pretty seriously for the first few years and then we moved here when I was 14 and I just totally lost track of dance. Like there was nobody at my new school that danced and you know, like we didn't have email or ways to keep in touch, so it disappeared from my life until I started raving basically when I was like 18, 19 and then I started getting into house and stuff and then it was just in the club, but I was mostly just dancing with other, you know, people who weren't necessarily, you know, full-on passionate dancers and then that's when I connected with you know Rue Podolsky. He had a crew called Quad Squad and kind of became part of that crew when I was in my early 20s. And then since then it's been like, you know, I've just been chasing it.
Wow.
But yeah, like it's been also more from the music perspective for me because my main thing has always been the music. So the dance kind of got me into the music and then I just, from the age of 14 on, I was always in bands and recording stuff and I went to college for that and, you know, DJing and I was a full-time DJ for a long time and then producing and getting into playing in different ensembles and stuff and lately I've been playing a lot with 2 Inuit throat singers. We have a band called Scylla and Rise where they do traditional Inuit throat singing. Have you seen that stuff?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I play electronic drums with them. So we do this show where it's like a real mishmash of the things and they let me play the game with them because it's like a B-girl battle basically. It's like a show of strength and a lot of the Inuit culture is all about showcasing female strength, which is gorgeous. Like it's a beautiful part of their culture.
That's
and
wild.
they battle each other. They literally try to throw each other off in the throat singing and you know, speed up, slow down, and so they let me play the game with them. So I speed up and slow down with them. And
nice.
It's a really fun show. Like we've been getting booked like crazy all over. We just played in Iqaluit up north.
Yeah.
And then we played in Yellowknife in Northwest Territories.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
That
It was
is
like an outdoor
awesome.
festival. It was beautiful.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, we've been playing in Toronto a lot too. Like it's going really well.
Yeah.
So we're playing in October again in Toronto.
Ooh.
So yeah, we'll be back around.
That's fresh.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's like, and in a way, it's like the thing about hip hop that always got me too was the clash of the old sounds with the new sounds, and I really find that fascinating. There's something about it that just draws me in, and it's like something about the clean electronic sound with like the really organic sounding, you know, natural sounds. It just like it makes me bug out. I'm still chasing the sound. It's like 30 years later, 40 years later, you know. But
that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with music.
Found the address.
Okay. So do you want to? Do you have like a GPS or?
Let's see. I did go over my data.
Okay. Here, just do you want to
plug it into
in
your
here?
phone?
Yeah, just put it in the maps there, and then we'll.
Maps?
Yeah, sure. Put it in maps, and then we'll. If I see it, I'll probably kind of know where it is anyway. just
Should I press this button right here?
sure. Just see where that is. Far inside. Oh yeah, I kind of know. Oh, okay, I know where that is.
Okay. I don't want this to spill. I'm just gonna hold on to it.
It's making me get off somewhere here.
Okay.
What's that?
Is it far off from you?
No, it's not that. It's just making me get off earlier. Here,
Oh,
I'll
okay.
just follow this thing.
Okay.
Okay, so we can wrap up the interview then, and unless there's other stuff, like, do you want to talk about other stuff? That was a pretty good. We went for quite a while there.
Yeah, I think it
That was
was
a good
cool
conversation.
too. Yeah.
So, okay, so what should we look at? You're going to be doing that. You're going to be moving to Vancouver.
Yeah.
So we'll be looking out for you in Vancouver.
Yeah. Out
And,
on the West Coast.
And you're going to be back around, like you're still going to be traveling and
Oh, for
back
sure.
around the next little while. So hopefully we'll get to catch up again. In
Yeah.
a couple
I'll be
years
back
and
in
see what you've been
Ottawa soon enough.
Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of organizing, but we got it done.
We did it with the lights and everything.
Yeah. It was fun. I really appreciate you sharing like all this really personal journey that you've been on. So
No, for sure.
thanks, Kosi.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on the pre-interview.
I'm really looking forward to the dancing with you this weekend too. It's just gonna be dope.
I'm super excited.
Word. Right on.
Peace out.